Just a reminder, like they say in the airline, you should know which flight you're on. So if you're on the wrong flight, get off. This is a webinar is about what should you charge your clients, and especially for marketing services. So if you are selling financial services, maybe this is not the right webinar for you. So let's get that straight. And we will get into a little, not only what should he charge, how should he set up the price and why and how, of also what can be done in 1 hour. And moving on, this is what I call credibility slide. Every year I teach a little bit of guest lecturing at University of Texas, Austin. And one of the things we tell all presenters is you need to build your credibility. So this is where, but I think I'll build my credibility as I go through and present some interesting stuff to you guys. But this is who I am, and you'll see this in slides, so probably you can read it later. So I'm not going to go through this. A little bit about Kuvare. We are e-commerce as a service company and a fractional CMO company where we do executive level strategy consultants is what we do there. InvisiblePPC is what we acquired last November. And as many of you guys know, and that's what we are doing webinar through, is this is done for you White Label PPC for agencies and their clients. Some of the agencies use our services directly for themselves also, in addition to clients. But important part, we do not work directly with end clients. And we cover 60 plus local niches. That's where we do really well. We are adding more services, which you'll hear through email as we announce those. But for now, the Google PPC is the big deal part of it. And that's the primary thing we do. As I go along, keep posting questions. There is a place to post questions, Q&A.
Just for everyone, post your questions in Q&A so I don't get lost in the chat. I'll try to go through the chat, whatever questions you have till now, but any questions you have, if you post in Q&A, I'll make sure that they get all of them.
Because Q&A, we can actually check off the question as we answer them. So it's kind of guaranteed to be addressed. All right. So that's InvisiblePPC and Kuvare. And so it's all together. I'm the owner for both companies. So what we will cover today, let's set the expectation very clear. So we will talk about, agencies could be charging more, most cases, and why, how, and what. I'm going to give you a methodology which you can apply to come up with any charge for any of the service you're selling. So if you're trying to figure out, and if it is not listed in the services, we'll give prices on. And because we are a PPC company, we'll talk a little bit more detail in our PPC, giving example of if you were pricing a PPC service, how should you do? And we will have 2 bonus giveaways. So I will share with you guys full pricing sheet from Kuvare with exact every service. So you can use that as a guideline to set your own pricing for other services beyond PPC. Because Kuvare, we do almost everything in marketing. So that should be a useful resource, hopefully, for everyone. And other thing is we have a checklist and a tool, which we will share also, which I think you will like. And of course, any Q&A. So let's start with this story. At Kuvare, there is one of the things we do is discovery analysis and strategy highlights. And we charge $4,800 for it. And we were doing this for a while, and we were hearing, clients loved it. In fact, the words we heard more often than not was, wow, this is amazing. We didn't know, it's so good. And so when we heard enough of that, what I did was at that point is increase the price to $9,800. At $9,800, we did add a little bit more. We added customer, the buyer journey. A little bit extra thing was added, but basically it was the same $4,800 thing, which everybody was going, wow. And we kind of started doing it $9,800. And then we were selling everything at $9,800. Same thing, same set, no change, and at $9,800. And we sold a lot of those. Then one of our fractional CMOs, so she was pre-meeting before the customers come in our conference room in Austin. She said to me, Avi, I think the $9,800 is too much. This client is really good. I really want to close them. Can we kind of reduce?
Sorry to interrupt. Can you just explain the service a little bit more? People are asking.
Sure. So this is a service when we get a client for doing strategy, in that before we do anything with them, we require them to go through this. This is where we actually figure out what is their business, what will work for them, what will not work for them, what is their competition. So a full analysis and a initial strategy, we give it out. And we will not engage with a client without them actually going through this, because our reasoning is if we don't understand your business deep enough, how can we do any marketing for you? So that's the service, basically. So that's one of the Kuber things. In fact, we've been doing it for long, that we applied for trademark, and we have trademark on Dash because of this. So that service, so we were selling it. And so Haley tells me that, we should really want to close this client. They're going to be long-term client. Can you do something about the pricing? And I didn't like that comment, because I was saying, man, we are selling so well. Everybody loves it. Why should we drop just to close? I didn't say anything to her because this was just 10 minutes before they walk into the conference room, the clients. And as the client, I'm doing my presentation. And the way we have always closed our clients is, I don't do slideshow. We basically look at the problem and work on the blackboard, or in this case, we have glass boards. So on the glass board, I work through their problem and give them what can be done, analysis. And I actually put a number there. What will it cost them to initial for analysis? So I went on the board, worked through everything, and I said, and it's going to cost you $19,800. It was a little bit of he could even say like spiting Haley, our CMO, that, man, how dare you think that 9,800 is not the right price, or whatever was it. But I did put that in, and I said, let's see what happens. This meeting was Thursday. The client told us, on Friday, they closed at 19,800. And they told us they really like the fact that we don't do presentations. Instead, we actually look at their problem. And it was very informal. And they had taken the picture of my board, and that 19,800, that was the fastest close ever, actually. So from then on, our price became 19,800. Every client after that, this was 3 years back, we charge them 19,800. Then it gets better. We get a client who comes to us and says, the scope, what you cover is great, but part of that is a buyer journey. And buyer journey, we already have done through CRE. And CRE is one of the most known companies for conversion rate optimization. So I don't think we need that. So can you do this all for it? How much will it be? So I figured that basically what he's saying is he doesn't want the whole thing. He will reduce my scope. So this is what I did. I said, all right, this is going to cost you $24,800 to do. And then because you don't want the customer journey, we'll knock 5,000 off. So he said, sure, let's do that. So we closed that at 24,800 minus 5,000. So I got back at 19,800. And the best part is 30 days later, when we looked at the customer journey and they were happy with us in 30 days, I told them the customer journey you have, the buyer journey you have is not that great. We need to redo this. So they paid us 5,000 more. So we ended up collecting that 24,800 more. So why I'm telling you this? So it might seem like a brag, but that's not what I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you guys something here which you need to consider. That one is, I'm trying to help you get to your right price faster. You need to do this faster than we did. If the hindsight, I should have done this much faster. First thing takeaway is, if you are hearing a lot of wows on any service you do, then you should time to increase the price. That means your service is too cheap. At that price point, they're loving it. It's time to increase the price. And other part is, till you do not try the higher one and maybe lose one client or two, you will never know what you can charge for it. So you got to do that. That's what the 19,800 happened with us, right? I could have lost a client, but I would have never known that every client is willing to pay 19,800 if I had not tried that. So I think that's the takeaway. To find your right price, move faster on the higher price if you're getting wows, and you got to try the prices, and even at the cost of losing 2 clients, to find out what is the right price. So this is just a lesson I've learned, and hopefully you can apply to some of the services you sell in certain ways to not leave money on the table. So now you're hearing all this and you're looking at all these big numbers, and especially if you're a smaller agency, you're saying, but I'm new to this business. Will they trust me and buy from me? Because just kind of a self-doubt creeps in many times. And I've been running this for 14 years, so I exactly know what the feeling is because I've gone through that myself. So this is where I devised this 80-20 rule. 80-20 is being used everywhere, but here 80-20, the way I describe it is this. 80, we as marketers, doesn't matter where you are, you only know 20% of what there is to know. There is 80% more. So that's humbling to know there is a lot more to know always. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But here is where it's interesting. That your customers, they know only 20% of what you know. Most of your customers, and this will get confusing, so I'm going to repeat this. We know as marketers only 20% of what is there to know. And our customers, most of them, or 80% of them, know 20% of that. So you will always know more than customers if you are in any business. And it might not seem that way, but it's almost always true. I'm going to straight it out here more clearly that what you know might be limited, but your customers, most of them, 80% of them, know even lesser. If you try this, this will always come out true. Let's get a little bit more. What if it is a situation where you run into a customer and sometimes customer throws a marketing term at you and you don't know what it is. And it seems that is what makes you feel sometimes, I don't know this term, I've never heard it, and I'm still new to marketing, I'm still learning. So this is the technique which, at least early days, I've used it very successfully, is ask them. Like if they're using the term like hypergrowth, say something like hypergrowth is kind of it's a overused term. What do you mean by hypergrowth? And most of the time you'll find most of the marketing terms, they have a simpler explanation. Once they tell you what it is, what they mean, you will get more out of it. Same thing like inbound marketing or any term which gets thrown at you. Most of the terms are overloaded anyway. So you can ask this question and do that. And finally, there will be terms and you should expect and be ready for things which you don't know and your customer asks. But here, I learned a lot more from my salespeople. So I went to a few meetings and calls with when we got pure salespeople and realized that most successful salespeople, they say, I don't know, quite a lot more than the experts, but they close a lot more deals. Because I don't know is a good thing. It basically tells the client that you will admit when you don't know, instead of you answering every question and coming across that you have figured this all out. So it actually builds rapport by doing that. So it's okay to admit you don't know, right? And then tell them that, okay, I'm going to go back to my team and there are experts in this area I have or partners I work with who are experts and find out the answer for you. And any good salesperson, you'll ask them, they will intentionally, in fact, not go into areas, not want to learn beyond a level of detail about the product, just for that reason, because they don't want to get into a rat hole of explaining the product details. They just want to keep it at a higher level. So there is nothing wrong with not knowing everything. And finally, just a reminder again, because there is 20% of the customers who might know more, that's okay. There's still 80% who will not know more. So that's a pretty large market for you guys to go after, right? So I'm going to get to a other story. Again, this is a GST&M. It's owned by Omnicom now. It's a Austin agency. They are famous for, if you guys know that Texas slogan, don't mess with Texas. They came up with it. And they were Whole Foods and Southwest Airlines agency for a long time. So they came to us and they asked us to do a website. This is again our early days. And they said, oh, we will do the concept. You guys just do the development of the website. At that time, I was outsourcing myself to external teams. And my cost was going to be $2,500. So they asked me, how much will it be? So I said, yeah, 7,500. And GST&M vice president who I was working with, he turns around, David Rockwood, and he says to me, Avi, if you charge that, client will think you guys are not, I mean, you're no good and you are cheap. You must not know how to do websites because that's too low for our clients, right? And he said, you got to charge more. He said, you got to charge at least 21,000. I said, how about 24,000? Because I learned quickly. And he said, great. So we did that at $24,000. My cost was still 2,500. It was exactly same product, no change. Here, I quickly learned you got to know your buyer. So this idea of the same price for everybody is not the greatest idea. You got to have a range. Many of the buyers will judge you just at your price for the service. So you got to know who you're selling to. You can sell the same service at much higher price for some customers. So that was the takeaway there. So what if, I mean, so let's get to this other question which will come up, working with especially a company like us that, hey, I'm using somebody else is doing fulfillment for me. I'm not doing it. You know, so should I be charging less versus a company who's doing this fulfillment in-house? And again, the answer is no. You should charge more. Why should you charge more? Think about it. You're managing the relationship. You'll be looking over the work as well, making sure it is right. This is in addition to the expert you hired, right? If you are working with somebody else to do it, hopefully you're working with expert company, right? So if you're working with expert, you really got the best in that field to work for that client, and you're going to add additional value. So your client is getting double value there. So you should be charging more than somebody who does fulfillment in-house. Because why? When you do fulfillment in-house, there is less criticism of the work, right? They're all working together. So, you know, the one who's doing it and one who's passing it, if it is the same people or same team, they might let some shoddy work pass, but you're not going to let that happen because you are separate. You have client's interest in mind. So your added value is quite a lot. So you need to charge more, not less, if you're not doing fulfillment in-house, not just because to make your margins, but otherwise. I'm talking about apples to apples, you should be charging more. One question sometimes comes up is, should you disclose that you're outsourcing to a, for example, in this case, a PPC management partner like InvisiblePPC? So here is a hint. At InvisiblePPC, we do not ever work with end client directly. Which means if you have a client and whatever reason the client somehow gets to know me personally, sends me on LinkedIn, hey, can you work with us directly, you know, and wants to undercut you or one way or the other, our answer is no. We do not work. And it's actually not, this is not like a promise of honor that, oh, we honor this. And it's very self-serving in our interest not to work with end client. Why? Because relationship with end client requires a different level of commitment and time. We're just not set up for that. InvisiblePPC is not set up for that level of high-touch clients. We are set up to work with agencies who already understand what they need and they work with the client. So and any good agency who's doing white labeling for you probably will be that way. So if you're working with somebody, what I call a pure white label, that's what we are. I don't think you have to worry about sharing with your client. You can decide if you're comfortable to tell the client that, yeah, we work with InvisiblePPC to do our ads for us. We manage the strategy and they do the implementation for us. And we will work with you to get the best results. And without any worry. Or if you're not comfortable, you can completely keep us white label and never tell them. That's completely up to you. But I'm just do want to share with you that I would not be concerned about that in any way, as long as you're working with any repeatable white label only. It's important. If there is an agency who does both white label and non-white label, then it's a different story, right? Because they could potentially, they might not steal a client, but client reaches out to them, they will take them as client directly, right? But so if you, as long as you're outsourcing to somebody who doesn't work with end clients, I think there is no, you should not worry and use that as a strength instead of as a weakness there. Okay. So let's get into, now I want to talk about some general guidelines for price setting methodologies. Before I go there, Chinmay, can you look at any Q&A which is very relevant to what I'm talking about right now already?
Yes. So one we have is, what do you mean by buyer journey?
Oh, buyer journey. Okay. So
we
I'm sorry.
Talking about Dash.
Yeah. So buyer journey is basically digital marketer calls it customer value journey. Buyer journey is more general term used in business schools, etc. When a buyer wants to purchase a product or service from you, it could be a service from you or from your end customer. They are at a different stage of knowing your business or a product. Some buyers might be at a stage where they don't even know such a solution exists. So they need to be educated differently. Versus some know the solution exists, but they don't know of you as a company providing that solution. They need to be treated differently. Then there will be others who know of you and they know of competition. Now, the material and marketing you do to them will be different because they already are aware. Now you got to show your competitive advantage. You need to show why you are better. And then it goes on to the next level when even when they become customer, how can you utilize customers to get more customer? So every buyer goes through these different phases of life, and they need to be segmented, and they need to be marketed at that stage. Because somebody who knows you quite well and you send them the initial material explaining the product, it's wasted. They will not like it. On the other hand, if somebody who doesn't even know that something can be done, and if you try to show them the comparison with the competition, it's wasted marketing material. So that's where the buyer journey is a very important aspect we start with when we work with our on Kuber side when we work with our customers. So hopefully that covers that. Anything specific to what I've covered, Chinmay? Otherwise,
I don't see anything specific. If you guys can put the questions in the Q&A sections, so I can check them off. I might miss some questions if they are in the chat. So just, if you have any questions, please put in the Q&A. For now, we're good, Avi, you can continue.
Oh yeah, there was a question that WordPress site. Yes, that was on WordPress. The site was the site was built in WordPress. It did have some a lot of custom features, like a lot of customizations, like it was a river, a Boulder Creek flowing through. So every point, if you went and there was a dot, if you went on dot, a video started playing. So there's a lot of fancy stuff there, but it was still WordPress. Okay. So, all right, and then
you can continue, Avi. I'll read your question.
Yeah, price setting methodology. So I want to give you a general guideline how we set prices when we started out working, and especially when we were outsourcing at that time. And so it applies to any product you work with. Instead of my screen froze. What? Okay, I'm on the wrong screen. All right, it went too many now. All right. So this is what I call my 30-30-30-10 way of setting price. First is 30% is your cost. So your cost is if you're getting it done by from somebody, or even if you have employees, you can just look at that, that cost that way. But this model really works well. 30% if you're thinking about somebody else doing it. Then 30% is what I call is your time, because you want to still spend time on it. And then 30% is margin. Now it's important I differentiate between margin and your time, because idea is when you are working with your time, you're working you're a business owner. So you need to think of margin as a separate thing versus your time. You need to get paid for your time as if you were an employee, for sure. That much you should get paid. And then you should have margin. And I leave usually 10% for commission, because many times there is a referral commission coming in. Now, of course, you're certainly welcome to increase the commission and take away from margin. But by knowing this number, even if you pay 20% commission, at least you'll have 20% margin. So having that general concept in mind really works. So you could take any product or service, which you're offering, and kind of generally apply this. The numbers could change by 5-10% here and there, but this we found was a great starting point. So if you remember that original site, 2,500, I quoted 7,500, just fits exactly in this model. There was no commission or anything, so my cost was 2,500. I said 7,500, and that's how I charge for that, right? So that's the model which we have used earlier days, especially more so building. By now we kind of have more exact modeling for pricing. So let's work very specifically on one specific thing, because PPC, which many of you guys, one way or the other, because of InvisiblePPC, are aware. So let's talk about it, how that works. So Google PPC pricing model, there are certain things which are usually you got to consider. One is the analysis to figure out what they need. There'll be a setup. There'll be almost always a landing page. Then there'll be a campaign charge for running the campaigns. Then there's ongoing monthly management. The campaign charge is probably, I should say more, it should be number of campaigns, because the number of campaigns increases your work. So those are the components. And usually most companies charge something like this. They will charge a setup and a fixed percentage of the ad budget, and with the minimum monthly. Or others will charge setup and they'll charge per number of campaigns, fixed charge per month. And the other aspect is sometimes the landing page is included in the setup. Other times you can just break it up per campaign, landing page, and monthly management. The other model, which is common also, is that's a fixed monthly budget. Based on the budget, you charge a percentage. And that percentage gradually drops as you go up. And it is important to know that, because if a client who's spending only $3,000 a month might be willing to pay, hey, on the budget, 3,000 might be willing to pay 1,500, which is actually comes out to quite a big chunk of their budget at that point. But a client who's spending, so we have clients who are spending 400,000 a month. Now at 400,000 a month, they're not going to pay the same 15%, because that becomes quite a lot. So the number drops as you start increasing the budget being managed, because even with 400,000, the number of campaigns do not go that high. So the number can drop, and at times it can drop all the way to 7% or 5% when the ad budget is very high, right? So these are the general models, but let's take that knowledge and build very specifically for PPC services. Say you were taking InvisiblePPC's PPC service. So your cost is $495 per month. Your time, let's say you're managing 3. So just divide by 3. So add, doing the 30% model. So 3 of them. And your margin, again, just going by simple rule, $495 should be a margin. So our recommendation would be, you should be charging 1 to 1.5 per month minimum, or 15 to 20% of the ad budget would be the good recommendation to work with the client. And that's the starting point. And then the part you need to be aware and think about is, by the way, in case if you're wondering what happened to the commission, is reason the commission is not factored in, because even if you're paying commission, it'd be only first month. You'll not be paying commission ongoing every month. So it's really doesn't matter that much. And the other part is, once it is set up, your work actually will go down once it is going on to quite less. And then as things go and client becomes successful, you'll ask them to increase, they will ask to increase budget. When they increase budget, you'll be able to charge them more. Your margins go up, your work does not go up. So that's how you could use that information, which I said, how to price and apply this directly to PPC services like ours, or any service like this, right? And so we are walking through. So I'm going to get into this. Any questions which are related to this? So I'm seeing that what are your white label prices? Actually, that $495 was the white label price for Google Ads. But the pricing guide, which I'm going to share with you here, is our agency prices. That's for you to use as the agency, because those are Kuvare prices. Like Kuvare as a big agency, what we price. So at least you get a guidance on, hey, if you're selling any other services, And yes, commission is for sales. Yes, that is correct. I'm just looking through questions here. Any other questions which are related?
So commission, you mean for sales, right?
Yes, commission is for sales. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, so
One
10% is for the commissions for the sales rep. Richard had a question. So yeah, 30. Yes, that's right. That's Richard, you got it right. It is.
Okay. Mike has a question. Which pricing model do you suggest with small local business with a small ad budget?
So for a small ad budget, I would say go with the $1,000 to $1,500 minimum spend, because with like for our case, they can go all the way up to $5,000 without change in what you pay. So up to 5,000 is enough for most smaller businesses for ad spend. And you could price internally and say when they go more than 2 or 3 and charge them more if you want. But you could say, hey, $1,000 for a month, or $1,500 if you feel comfortable if they're large enough business. Then you could charge them $1,500 for that. So that'll give you a clean margin of 1,000 or 500, depending on how much you're working. So average spend for most of the smaller customers there's a question about that, is between $3,000 to $6,000. And once they're successful, and if they have capacity, this tool will really help you about the capacity. What I'm talking about capacity. Is your client ready for Google, Facebook ads? I'll talk about that a little bit. So what happens is you prove to them and things get going for their spend of few $1,000s a month. And then when it is working, if they have capacity, which means they can take on more clients, then they start adding more money, because at that point, it's already proven that their cost per lead is very settled and it's known. So they just say, okay, let's do more of it. And that's where your margins will go up, because it will not cost you too much more to increase. Retargeting is very different. There's a question on retargeting. So retargeting is always low. It should be low because yeah, so retargeting has to be low, because the general rule of retargeting is the retargeting budget should be 10 to 20% of your full total budget. And retargeting should only happen once you have at least 1,000 visits per month, preferably 2,000 visits on the site. So if you don't have that kind of a traffic, don't do retargeting. I know it's because of the question came up, so from Richard, that's why I'm going. So I'm not going tangential, but to help some of you guys think about that also. Because retargeting, the idea is that traffic is already coming to your site and they're leaving, they have not converted. The retargeting is cheap. The cost per click is very cheap because they only came to your site. Nobody else is competing with them, right? So you can get cost per click is very low for retargeting, but the problem is the traffic. Now, if you're running ads also at the same time, then you'll have a lot of traffic. So 1,000, 2,000 per month will not be a problem. But if you have not been running ads and they just want to do retargeting, then their organic traffic has to be at least 1,000. I would recommend 2,000 or more to retargeting to work well. And especially with the iOS 14 and all, for retargeting, we do need a good number. Smaller numbers don't work very well. So all our there are Facebook ads and landing pages made. All our landing pages are on swipe pages, and the design and concept is done in US, and the actual development coding is done in India and Philippines. So the design and concept is done in US. So hopefully that helps. So because we absolutely recognize, as a big agency, we've known this for long, that there are cultural nuances, language nuances, which cannot be outsourced outside, especially if you're US, Australia, or UK. In fact, there are differences even for UK, Australia, and US. working with attorneys, etc. So they have to be done more locally in the country, the concepts and designs. But after that, the coding can be done a lot more effectively in India and Philippines. Okay.
Okay, Avi, I have one question.
Yeah.
Can you repeat the percentages again? 30% margin, etc. Just go one slide back, then cover your bonuses, and then we'll go back to more questions.
This one?
Yeah.
So let's do this. So this basically says that if for a service, if you're charging $1,000, 30% is for your time. 30%, so $300 out of that must be your cost to get that service from somebody else doing it for you, your pure cost to get it done. 30% is the money for your time you'll be spending. So $300 will be for your time because you'll be going back and forth. And 300 is margin, and 10% in case you're paying somebody commission because you got that lead. Hopefully that helps.
Okay, cover your bonuses, and then we have a lot of questions to go through.
Yeah, all right. So let's get to, so first let's do the pricing guide. This I'm gonna, every one of you will have an email link to this PDF directly beyond presentation. So you'll be able to get it from there. So this basically, I'm not gonna go through line by line, but gives you, just give you an idea that in our case, we have fractional CMO services, which is basically consulting services, marketing level services, what kind of money we charge, but also has these services. Keep this in mind, this is not white label services. This is Kuvare pricing. So these are the kind of prices you could be charging your clients for any of these services. We don't offer these as white label necessarily, right? But just this was meant to help you as an agency. You might be doing a lot more than just PPC. And if you're wondering how to price, the fact we have run this Kuvare agency for 14 years, we have a lot of experience on that. So we thought we'll just share that with you guys. And then you can have this as a guideline to set up your own prices on anything you want. Okay. So hopefully this helps. And this will be available to you, all of you, the price. You're welcome, Mike. Yeah, no problem at all on that. And just to be clear on this, I'm sharing this with you. Some of you might be saying, oh, so this is what we do with clients. No, we don't share the price sheet like that with clients. Because what we do is we figure out exactly what they need. Then we share with them that for their services, what will cost. So this is more for our internal use, for us to know what it is built and as a guidance. And it is for your agencies to use. We don't have anywhere on our website the full price sheet for everybody. For the reason I explained to you, that some will judge you based on your price without knowing you, right? And so you don't want that because you're losing out some higher end client if you keep the price low, and you're losing out some lower end client if you keep the price high on a price sheet. So having that price. Now, on the other hand, if it is a service which is fixed, you know exactly, and you're selling one or two things, then you can put the prices there because it's a high volume game. So in our case of PPC services, we don't hide it, but there's no price sheet, but it's there everywhere if you search on website, because that's like a fixed price service. We do this for literally hundreds of agencies. So we're not that worried that if it goes out and gets compared with competition, because we know we are very good at this. So price is not the reason. And we are not the highest charging price, we're not the lowest, but I strongly believe we are the best for PPC. So if that's the case, then we don't have to worry. So that's a different kind of a service there. But in other situations, the general services, I would not recommend putting it on your website, but you should have your own internal guide to know what to do. That's why I'm sharing this with you guys. The other one is actually a multi-purpose. It's a tool which you can use yourself with your own copy. And this is a checklist. Is your local business ready for Google or Facebook ads? So you kind of go through this list, and what you'll find is, and here, by the way, in every one of this, I'm not going to go through this because there's a lot here, but I do want to tell you how it is set up, how to use this tool. So you go to the client and say, hey, do you have access capacity? And you explain to them, basically, if you don't have access capacity, why you are spending any money on ads? Like we have actually had this situation early days when we were working with the smaller businesses. The dentist said, oh, no, we can take maybe 10% more. I said, really? For that, you're going to do all these ads? It's not worth it. Are you going to hire one more dentist to grow your business? Otherwise, just don't do it. It does two things. It basically gets you the right client. Second, the client starts realizing you're thinking about business instead of you selling services. You get really aligned with them. And in this, by the way, we have like tips for you as agency guidance, that why this question helps, why this. So and the best part is I think, which you will really like is not only this one we will share as a PDF, but we will also share as a Google Sheet, which is you can just copy it and make your own checklist and just put your logo, your email address, whatever, use the checklist. And in this checklist, that agency guidance part is not there because you can directly go through client with this sheet printed and work with them. That agency guidance was more for you, how to ask questions and how to use it. Hopefully you'll find this of value. Right? So those are the two bonuses there. And any questions on bonuses? Yeah, you'll have it as soon as the recording is ready. This is a Zoom webinar. So usually it is ready in a few hours. And after that, you will just send email with the recording and links to these in there directly. So you can you'll get the PDF and you'll get both the PDFs, and you'll also get linked to this one right here. By the way, hang on here, just to make it easy. I don't want you guys to think that we're trying to gate it anyway. I'm going to just post this in the open chat. So if you guys are really ready to go with this, you can use the sheet already. Let me find the chat. The link to this, but the guide one PDF we'll send. Here it is, right here. Now the other PDF, which will tell you how to use this, we will send it in email. Right. So yeah, we are not. None of this is gated. I mean, this is I hate using the term value, providing value. It's overused. We want something useful which will help you and helps us, right? Especially in PPC business, we don't want you to get us clients which were not ready, and it'll help you get the clients. So it works both ways. This one, and the agency part. Reason I'm sharing prices is again self-interest of that. Hey, if your agency succeeds, you'll work with us more. So we want you to do well. It's a pretty selfish interest actually. So, all right, and that, and then finally, we have a special bonus today. So if you're not a partner, and in next 7 days you sign up for a partner, so our setup is usually $595. We will knock 50% off that. And to do that, the link is bonus.invisibleppc.com. So you save $297.50 if you sign in 7 days. So this is, I don't know, yeah, this is our only, I guess, real sale, kind of a pushy sale technique here, that if you do this in 7 days, you get this. Otherwise, everything else is all free. And you're welcome even after 7 days. There's no problem, because this is a long-term value, I think, for you guys to be able to use the white label. But if you do it in 7 days, you save some money. All right. Any?
All right. We have quite a few questions to go over.
All right. Okay. Let's go through it. Awesome. I'm going to look through.
Okay. So Jeffrey has a question regarding your Dash website example. Your estimate on a quote to build a plastic surgeon's website.
Oh, if it is a plastic surgeon's website with good pictures or so, whatever, in the price sheet, you will see we charge $6,000 for almost any website in Kuwait side, which means if we provide the content. If we have to write marketing copy, then it adds 6,000 more. So we can build, and our way of at Kuwait, this is Kuwait's business part, not a white label service. So you guys can decide what you want to do. And the way we do that is, what we found is, instead of asking them count the number of pages, kind of count, things like that. Instead, we just look at the business and say, we decide what the business will need. And then if additional thing, business comes back, we would like to have this, we don't charge anymore, because our view is, we didn't do our job well if we did not think of everything the client would need for marketing their services. So we should not be charging them more. So a plastic surgeon's website will have pictures and all, etc. If they have all content and all, and these are, I'm talking about a marketing website. It's not a website which has e-commerce going on this. Like already the booking and everything is there, that's separate. But just a full marketing website with anything they can think of, usually we can do that for $6,000. Okay. Now, by the way, that same 6,000, if GST&M asks me, having learned that, I'll probably go and charge them 24,000, right, or more. Okay. Next,
all right. Next, can we resell Kuber at wholesale rates?
Very tempting. It's very tempting, guys, because as coming as agency, that was the first thing I started. Man, we can have right now it's a no, because we just are not set up for doing high volume at Kuber. Kuber is a high touch. We basically learn everything. The phrase I use is that if Kuber is working with you, they will know so much that we can build a business to compete with you and run you out of business. We want to know about your business so much that everything, your pricing, your sourcing, everything, then only we can market. So that kind of a service requires so much effort. It's hard to kind of package it, but there might be some subsets in there which you might find that, hey, we could be doing it. Right now, Kuber does not take any business for any subsets. It takes only for strategy and full picture. But kind of reach out and say if there is anything specific. If there's enough demand, we are still a business, so we might create a white label version of it or a partner version of it. Do reach out, and you're certainly welcome to. The other part you can do is you can certainly bring us the business as a partner and say, this part Kuber will do. If you are thinking that way and get paid commission for sure, that's not a problem at any time. And given the prices we charge, that's commission of 10-15% can be substantial, right? So that's okay, but doing it as a white label partner, I just have not figured out. And we might or might not do too much with that, because we clearly want to keep the boundary between white label and not white label for obvious reasons. Okay, for us.
Right. So then Derek has a question. If I bring in a client that is in a niche you have not previously handled, how does that pricing break down? Yeah. Derek, the best person to answer that is David. I'm going to put David's email in here. It's just David at InvisiblePPC.
Yeah, I can answer that quickly though. So we have a beta program. Basically what we do is, if we don't have that niche, and in fact, surprisingly, we're running right now 40 betas. So it's not a small program, okay? So when we say beta, but there are 40 betas we are running. So we have a beta program. The way beta program works is, we do charge a little extra initially for doing the research, but that money, once it, if we find there is a common interest, we can waive that off. Because if we think that that beta is a good one to become niche, then it's great. One of the example is medical testing. It was beta, it's doing extremely well for us. So we're going to just make it a standard niche. So we are interested in beta, but we look at it, do the initial search, which costs us a little extra to figure it out whether it is possible, and then be willing to work with you. Yeah, as I said, it's like we are not opposed to it, but niches is where we kind of know in advance and can give you the numbers. The big difference is beta. This is the best way to think about it. In case of beta, we'll still give you an estimate, but that estimate is coming from Google. So it's their historical data, which we don't know. Google is very general. But in other niches, we give you the data based on our own runs. That's much more exact. That's really the difference, because we can still give you an estimate that how much will be for acquisition. Yeah. Yes, the retargeting is included in all pricing on the Google side. But if you're doing omni retargeting, that is extra, going on other platforms. Yeah, Facebook ads, we are already working with some of our customers. We are doing Facebook ads. So if you're interested in Facebook ads, for sure, I would say it's like we we closed gates after 10, last one, but we are taking some on the side, few more. So Facebook ads, yes, we are offering as white label for sure, because that was easy to package as a white label.
Yeah. However, in case of Facebook ads, there are certain things that you need to qualify for it because we're just starting out. So I'll send you a link in the chat here. Just fill that form out and check if your client will qualify for the Facebook ads. But it's a little different strategy compared to Google ads, so it needs a bit of a research done previously. Okay. Then I never do a PPC campaign without doing retargeting and comprehensive email SMS follow-up and a parallel social posting campaign that builds know, like, and trust. I have no idea why an agency would run an expensive PPC campaign on its own.
So the reason for that is that some local businesses, they do extremely well with PPC. We can have a business with no website and we'll build a landing page and still make it profitable. It works that well. So what is being said here is that doing all these other things in social and all, they absolutely add value. There's no disagreement at all. But it is because it is possible, and some clients, they come to us with that situation, we can actually make it work for them. The retargeting is always included for anybody coming to the website after that's included as part of the campaign. All right.
Yeah. Then Hugo has question, how will you share the price sheet you just showed again? We'll put that link in the email that you get from us tomorrow.
And you'll be able to download it.
Yes, yeah. Which will have the recording of this call. It will have the presentation. So all the links you want to be in there.
Yeah, and you'll be able to you'll be able to download that.
Yeah, you'll be able to download that. Okay. Okay. Please share the link for the case studies. I think for the case studies, the right person to reach out to is David at InvisiblePPC.com. So based on what kind of niche you're talking about, he can send you the specific case studies. Otherwise, it's a huge database. You might get lost. All right. $595 is the setup cost. $495 is the monthly management fee for Google PPC ads can do. Do we have a sample slide there to help all PPC to prospects? What do you want to answer to that, Avi?
Stanley is saying, I don't have access to bank. Yeah, so Stanley, yes. Just send a message or something, Stanley, to us, email, and we'll see how we can help you.
Avi, I have a question. Do you have a sample slide deck to help sell PPC to prospects?
I don't know if I know the answer to that, because David might be able to answer that. We have a course which I think does cover that. I have, since we came in November, I've really not looked into details, so I don't know. But that's a great question. We should absolutely have that. If not, we do have material to help sell for sure, for niches, to show you that, hey, how much will it cost and all. We do have that. But do we have a kind of a simple general deck? I do not know the answer. Yes, we do help, Caroline, we do help close a client. So the way it works is we have a program, it was called POP earlier, Proof Over Promise. We call it PPC Boost now. We can take a client, if they were already running ads, in 14 days, not 30 days, in 14 days, we can show improvement. And there's no better way to close if they were already running ads. We can show that in 14 days, their cost per acquisition drops. And if we can show that in 14 days, tell them, hey, why you're working with a current agency when new agency could do it in 2 weeks, why didn't they do it in so many months? So that's for existing ones who are running ads. That's one way we can absolutely help. It's called PPC Boost. We boost your PPC as it is. The other one is, of course, we will give you data, Caroline, for once you tell us which niche it is, we'll give you data to explain to the client that, hey, they'll be able to get a lead at this. This will be cost per acquisition. Right? What will be the cost per acquisition? And that usually sells very well. If you're able to tell a dentist that's going to call X amount of dollars to get a new client, most dentists understand that, right? Or any of the similar way, plumber or HVAC, they know that, and that's within their margins or budget. Okay.
All right. Richard, I'm not sure what login you're talking about. If we can maybe put in a request through the contact us form or something, then I can find your login, but I'm not sure what login you're talking about right now.
Yeah, InvisiblePPC.com contact form, we have revamped it, made it simpler. Anything which comes there goes through our ticketing system and will always get a response. Okay.
Regarding the management fee, what if one client is running more than one campaign?
Yeah.
Is it still $4.95 per campaign?
No, it's not. It's lesser. And you can get that pricing from David. If it's the same client adding more campaigns, it's a lot lesser because the overhead is for us is lower.
Yeah, it will be treated like an additional smart niche, and we'll see how the pricing goes.
Yeah, basically, when generally, if you're trying to think on your own, if you cannot remember the pricing, anything which general rules apply, which general knowledge will apply to our pricing. Basically, the idea is if it's going to be a lot more work, it's completely new work. That means we'll charge the full price. If it is not going to be complete new work, most of the stuff is same, we'll charge less. So all our pricing is set up that way. If you ever notice it's not that way, we want to fix it to match that. Because it's kind of a common sense pricing that if the work was more, then we have to charge more. Because at white label prices, we have margins for sure, otherwise we'll not have business. But it is not a big margin like a Kuber business, where we can just kind of play with it easily, right? So it's only so much we can do. And so we want to keep it optimal. All right.
Okay, Amir is asking, does PPC Boost work for a beta niche, which is concrete niche? So yes. Currently, Amir, PPC Boost works because we have a lot of data in the smart niches, basically when it comes to keywords and all. But submit a beta request, we'll take a look at it and we'll let you know if PPC Boost will work or not before I say anything to you.
And when I said yes, the basis is this. What I've learned in the last few months of running this business and from Kuber before, anybody who's experienced can improve Google Ads. PPC Boost is not a magic. It's basically experienced person looking at the account and looking at the data set we have and applying that knowledge to the account. That's really what it is. So if it is a beta, then we'll not be able to use any existing keywords, negative keywords, etc., because we don't have. We will have to just apply our knowledge of doing PPC. So that's the difference, basically. But depending on the niche, we are able to tell quite well with this many years of experience that, oh, these kind of niches can be improved, or you're paying too much. Because there are a lot of niches which are not part of our smart niches, but we have worked on them in the past. So we do have information on more than smart niches. Any other burning questions? I want to respect Peter's time. We did. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We have last question, Avi. Did you say to submit a PPC Boost review request for beta niche? Just want to make sure. Yes, that's what I'm saying. So if you have beta, just submit the beta request and mention in the section that you want to try this for PPC Boost first. So we can check on our end if there is any way we can tell you if this PPC Boost will work or not.
So yeah, and I think just to give away a little bit, the next webinar we are thinking about how to audit a PPC account or Facebook account. Those are the kind of things we are doing, which will completely show you guys. You can do this on your own. Just take the business away if you want from us. We will give details exactly how do we do it. All right.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good day, and thank you for being here. And look forward to our email.